Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi everyone. Okay, so now we move to subtopic 2.3, still in the chapter 2 for ecology, but now we discuss to another subtopic, biogeochemical cycle. So the learning outcome in this subtopic, the first one is to describe biogeochemical cycle components, which is cycling pool and reservoir pool in carbon and nitrogen cycles. And the second one is to illustrate the phosphorus cycle. So what is the biogeochemical cycle? So biogeochemical cycle is the cyclic movement of chemical elements, which is including the carbon, oxygen, and nitrogen between biotic. Biotic means living organisms, and abiotic components, the atmosphere of Earth. Biogeochemical cycle has two components. The first one is the reservoir pool, and the second one is the cycling pool. So what is the difference between the reservoir pool and cycling pool? Reservoir pool is the places where large amount of chemicals accumulate for a long time. Okay, and mostly abiotic or inorganic component. Example, fossil fuel and limestone. While for the cycling pool is the places where small amount of chemicals that is rapidly exchanged between biotic and abiotic component of an ecosystem, and mostly is biotic or organic component. Example, plants and animal biomass. Okay, we look first to the carbon cycle. Okay, the carbon cycle is the biogeochemical cycle by which carbon is cycled through the atmosphere, biosphere, which is the organisms, lithosphere, including the soil, fossil fuel, and sedimentary rock, and the hydrosphere, which is oceans and other water bodies of the earth. Okay, so in the carbon cycle, carbon is stored in the following major reservoir pool. Okay, before this, I already told you that the component, the biogeochemical cycle component can divide it into two, cycling pool and the reservoir pool. Okay, so in the carbon cycle, the major reservoir pool is the first one. Okay, kita tengok the first one adalah pada organic molecule in living and dead organism in the biosphere. So biosphere carbon store, pertama ini pada living and dead organism in the biosphere. Okay, organic molecule. The second one as the gas. Di mana tu? As the gas. So dekat atmosphere lah. Okay, as the gas carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And then seterusnya di bahagian lithosphere. Okay, lithosphere iaitu pada bahagian atas. Okay, as organic matter in soil. Okay, soil organic matter. So this one yang ketiga lah. Okay, the reservoir pool in the carbon cycle as organic matter in soil. That is upper strata of the lithosphere. And in the lower strata of the lithosphere, okay, here di bahagian bawah ni lah okay, so this one yang seterusnya lah. Okay, as fossil fuel and sedimentary rock deposit such as the limestone, okay, and dolomite. Okay, so ini in the lower strata of the lithosphere. And also dekat ocean pun ada juga, okay, ocean carbon store as dissolved carbon dioxide in the oceans. Also kalau dekat lakes and other bodies of water of the hydrosphere, and as calcium carbonate in the shells of marine organisms. Okay, so tadi kita dah discuss the reservoir pool in the carbon cycle. So now, what is the cycling pool pula dalam carbon cycle? So the cycling pool adalah tadi daripada biotic components. Okay, so biotic component. Kalau reservoir pool tadi biotic components. So cycling pools, biotic components. So dia sekitar pada kalian lihat di cycle lah. Okay, melibatkan the plant and the animals. Okay, itu sebagai biotic components. Okay, so carbon terdapat inorganic compound in producer. Okay, the plant, okay, as a producer, itu autotroph. And then bila plant eaten by animal, so carbon terdapat seterusnya carbon inorganic compound in consumers, heterotroph. And then bila hidupan plant and animal ni mati, that's okay. So carbon terdapat inorganic compound in saprophytic bacteria and fungi. Okay, carbon dioxide in decaying matter. Okay, waste ni. Okay, so in saprophytic bacteria and fungi, and also in inorganic compound in detritivore. Okay, so ini adalah the cycling pools, okay, dalam carbon cycle. Carbon cycle can be divided into 3 steps. The first one is the carbon fixation. Okay, so for the carbon fixation, firstly carbon dioxide in atmosphere is fixed by plants during photosynthesis, okay, to synthesize organic substances. Okay, so this one by the carbon fixation. Second step is the this one, the second step is the assimilation. Okay, assimilation process. Okay, a process in which organisms absorb nutrients and minerals and incorporate them into a more complex structures needed inside the cells. Okay, so animal eat their food, digest protein to amino acid, absorb and use it to synthesize their own protein. Okay, and protein, nucleic acid, and etc. Okay, the third step is by the cellular respiration, by the respiration process. Okay, a process in which organic carbon compounds are converted back into carbon dioxide. Okay, or released during decomposition activities. Okay, by the detritivore. Okay, undergo the decomposition activities, and also by the this one the decomposition activities by the microbe, and also by the burning of fossil fuel, oil and gas. Okay, so this is the steps, the 3 steps in the carbon cycle. Okay, now we move to the nitrogen cycle. So again, what is the reservoir pool and the cycling pool for the nitrogen cycle? Okay, so reservoir pool for nitrogen cycle is the atmosphere. So atmosphere is the major reservoir of nitrogen in nitrogen cycle, while for plants and animals, okay, as a exchange, plant and animal is the cycling pool, okay, in nitrogen cycle, which is the movement of soil nitrates absorbed by plants to herbivores to carnivores in a food chain. So this one is the cycling pool. Okay. Okay, so there are 5 steps in nitrogen cycle. The first one is the nitrogen fixation, second nitrification, third assimilation, fourth ammonification, and 5 denitrification. So we look first to step number 1. Okay, so step number 1 is the nitrogen fixation. Okay, So for nitrogen fixation, so free nitrogen in the atmosphere, okay, atmosphere is the reservoir pool. So this nitrogen is converted into nitrogenous compound, which can be used by plants through three fixation processes as follows. The first one is the biological fixation by nitrogen fixing bacteria. Okay, biological fixation by nitrogen fixing bacteria. Fixation by this one is the yang pertama lah, laluan yang pertama because untuk nitrogen fixation ni there are three fixation process. The first one is the fixation by the nitrogen fixing bacteria, nitrogen fixing bacteria. This bacteria or microorganism, this nitrogen fixing bacteria ni have the ability to use free nitrogen from the air and then change it into nitrate, okay, and subsequently into nitrate, okay, nitrate and then baru tukar kepada nitrat, okay. So these are then released into the soil and become available to plant. Okay, so untuk bakteria ni pula, there are two groups of nitrogen fixing bacteria ni, nitrogen fixing bacteria. Yang pertama adalah symbiotic, okay, nitrogen fixing bacteria. Okay, so untuk nitrogen fixing bacteria ni ada terbagi kepada dua lah. Okay, saya boleh tuliskan kat sini. Yang pertama ni adalah symbiotic. Symbiotic. Ni nampaklah kan nitrogen, symbiotic nitrogen fixing bacteria. Okay, so yang kedua adalah yang free living. Okay, yang ini jenis non-symbiotic lah. Okay, sambil tu boleh tengok dalam nota non-symbiotic nitrogen fixing bacteria ataupun the free living bacteria. Okay, contoh untuk yang symbiotic nitrogen fixing bacteria contohnya adalah rhizobium. Okay, rhizobium species yang terdapat in the root noodle of legumes. Okay, dan untuk jenis yang free living pula contohnya adalah azotobacter species dan juga cyanobacteria. Tu contoh dia cyanobacteria. Okay, so untuk yang symbiotic nitrogen fixing bacteria tadi saya sebut rhizobium kan, dia terdapat dalam root noodle of legume ni. During fixation, so free nitrogen is either converted into amino compound which are directly used by plants through food chains or is converted into nitrate, okay, nitrat compound in soil and made available to plant. Okay. Untuk yang non-symbiotic nitrogen fixing bacteria ataupun yang free living contoh azotobacter ni, okay, akan convert free nitrogen into amino compounds in the presence of oxygen and water. Okay. On death or predation, the fixed nitrogen enters food chains. Okay, so yang ini yang pertama lah di bawah nitrogen fixation sebab ada 3 ways tadi. So yang pertama adalah secara biological fixation. Okay, so ini yang pertama adalah secara kata biological fixation. Okay, yang kedua adalah secara atmospheric. Ni ada kat sini atmospheric fixation. Okay, di mana electrical discharges that occur during lightning, okay, so can cause free nitrogen in the atmosphere to be oxidized directly into nitrogen dioxide. These then dissolve in rainwater, forming nitrous acid and nitric acid, which react with other compound to form nitrate salt in the soil. Okay, yang ketiga adalah secara industrial fixation. So in industry, nitrogen from the atmosphere is combined with hydrogen to produce ammonia through the Haber process. Okay, the ammonia produced is then used for the production of artificial nitrogenous fertilizers, especially in the form of ammonium salts such as ammonium sulfate, ammonium nitrate, and ammonium phosphate to be applied to soil and absorb plants. Okay, so ini step yang pertama lah dalam iaitu nitrogen fixation. Okay, step yang kedua. Okay, step yang kedua adalah proses nitrification. Okay, so ini adalah proses nitrification. Okay, nitrification iaitu proses in which ammonia NH3 okay, ataupun ammonium ion NH4+ is converted into nitrite NO3. Okay, so ammonia, this one ammonia kan, okay, so kepada nitrite. Okay, so by the nitrifying bacteria, action of nitrifying bacteria lah, by nitrifying bacteria ataupun soil bacteria. So there are two stages kat sini, okay, untuk step yang nitrification ni. So there ada two stages, di mana pertama melibatkan proses oxidation, oxidation of the ammonia to nitrate by Nitrosomonas species ataupun Nitrococcus species, and then stage yang kedua, oxidation of nitrate to nitrite by Nitrobacter species. Ni detail dalam nota tu, dalam nota ada, awak boleh rujuk semula dalam nota. Okey, proses yang ketiga ataupun step yang ketiga adalah proses assimilation. Okey, proses assimilation iaitu proses di mana organism absorb. Okey, so ni assimilation Okay, proses di mana organism absorb nutrient and minerals and incorporate them into a more complex structures needed inside the cell. Okay, yang keempat adalah proses kita panggil proses ammonification. Okay, ammonification ni melibatkan proses di mana organic nitrogen compound from animal waste, so plant and animal waste and remains so ini yang keempat. Okay, so ammonification. Okay, process in which organic nitrogen compound from animal waste ataupun dead organism are converted into ammonia NH3 by ammodifying bacteria ataupun decomposers. So kat sini lah. By bacterial decay ni adalah ammodifying bacteria lah ataupun decomposers. So kita boleh stress kat sini sebagai decomposers. Decomposers. Yang seterusnya, yang kelima, stage yang terakhir, yang kelima adalah proses denitrification. Denitrification adalah proses in which proses nitrit, kalau lihat dalam ni lah dia tunjukkan flow dia kan. Nitrite okay, nitrate ataupun nitrate NO3 minus ni is converted to nitrogen. Okay, convert kepada nitrogen to nitrogen gas by denitrifying bacteria. Okay, which reverse the process of nitrogen fixation and nitrification. Okay, so this process occurs in the absence of oxygen. Example bacteria is the Pseudomonas species and Thiobacillus species. Okay, uh, so kita dah discuss lah untuk nitrogen cycle ni 5 step in the nitrogen cycle. Okay, last sekali iaitu the phosphorus cycle ini secara general sahaja. So phosphorus ni move in a cycle through rocks, water, soil and sediments and organism. So secara ringkasnya step dalam phosphorus cycle ni melibatkan macam rain and weathering cause rocks to release phosphate ions and other minerals. So this inorganic phosphate is then distributed in the soils and water. Okay, and then plant take up inorganic phosphate from the soil. The plant may then be consumed by animals. Okay, once in the plant or animal, the phosphate is incorporated into organic molecules such as DNA. So when the plant or animal dies, it decays, and the organic phosphate is returned to the soil. So within the soil, organic forms of phosphate can be made available to plants by bacteria that break down organic matter to inorganic forms of phosphorus. This process is known as the mineralization. Okay, phosphorus in soil can end up in waterways and eventually oceans. And once there, it can be incorporated into sediments over time. Okay, so untuk details, untuk pembacaan seterusnya, you boleh find out in either reference book or in the internet. Okay, okay, so that's all for the biogeochemical cycle. So before I end my video, so please answer this question about the carbon cycle. Then you submit your answer in the GC. Okay, in the Google Classroom. There are 4 questions here. Okay, that's all. Bye.